Have you ever felt you knew something without any logical explanation? Today, we're going to discuss the differences between intuition and telepathy. In a conversation I recently had with a friend, I realized that she thought intuition and telepathy were synonymous. This was a big aha moment for me because I realized, wow, this is why our conversation was so confusing for both of us. While both intuition and telepathy both involve a sense of knowing without actual sensory input, they are actually two very different forms of communication. A key difference is that intuition is, generally speaking, an internal guidance system based on subconscious processing of information, while telepathy refers to the direct transfer of feelings or thoughts from one mind to another. Essentially, intuition is an internal communication method where telepathy is external from one mind to another. Intuition is also known as an instinctive feeling or sixth sense. The sixth sense is defined as the ability to know something without using the ordinary five senses of sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. Most people have this intuitive sixth sense, although some people are more in tune with this sense, sort of like how some people might have better hearing or better sight. Telepathy is defined as communication from one mind to another without any outward signs or verbalizing. That intuition is generally considered a psychological phenomenon with neurological explanation, whereas science considers telepathy to be a speculative concept with little scientific explanation or evidence. This makes sense to me since intuition is an internal communication. There could be internal physical evidence reflecting that, while telepathy is external. Therefore, there isn't any internal reflection of the communication. Although on the surface they seem the same, these two communication methods are very different. So this is how the difference makes sense to me or feels to me. Intuition is a deep sense of knowing. Some call it a gut feeling, something that hits you. It's a strong knowing about a person or a thing. It's just a feeling you know without any reasonable input. As you learn to trust your intuition, it will become stronger. Sort of like a muscle that you're now starting to flex and use. Let me know in the comments below if you would like more videos on intuition and development of intuition. So getting back to this, I consider telepathy communication with someone else. It's like speaking another language. So I have a personal story about this. When my husband and I were newly married, he needed some car parts. So we went to a wrecking yard that his friend owned, and he was going to pick up his parts. I decided to stay in the truck and read my book since they might be talking and it might be a while. About 30 minutes later, he comes out of the wrecking yard without his parts and he tells me, "You need to tune in and talk to your grandmother." And I thought that was a bit odd. I'm like, okay. And he said it's because she was coming to him. Because I wasn't listening or paying attention to her, she went to him telepathically to tell him to tell me to listen to her or to tune in. And I thought that was funny. He said that it was an experience like he's never had. He heard her speaking in his head in another language, which would have been Japanese, which he doesn't understand. But he understood her perfectly. He didn't understand cognitively what she was saying in the language. He telepathically knew what she was saying. And that is exactly how telepathy works. He was communicating with my grandma, not through words, but through thought. Telepathy can cross over worlds, species, time, space, distance. It's amazing. So there are those who can telepathically communicate with animals, and that's because they're tuning in to the thoughts of the animals. This has happened to me with animals, people on both sides of the veil, right? Living or deceased. And it is another thing, sort of like intuition, a muscle that you develop. And like a muscle, it grows as you get stronger. And you actually know what it feels like to get the telepathic message. In fact, they are indigenous tribes that communicate primarily telepathically. These tribes are like the Australian Aborigines or the Mayuruna tribe in the Amazon. I think there's currently a popular podcast called the Telepathy tapes, where this gal can communicate with autistic kids telepathically. And that totally makes sense because their thoughts are vivid. It's just they don't have a way to communicate it out. So telepathic communication is perfect for that. There is one thing that I think is common in both forms of communication. They both require a high vibration or high frequency to develop. I also believe both skills can be learned. Therefore, like many things I teach you on this channel, being able to attain and maintain a high vibrational level is so important. These are really skills of the future, skills that will become very valuable as the new vibrational world progresses on. Please let me know in the comments below if you've ever experienced any intuitive messages versus telepathic messages and how that occurred for you. And also any tips or tricks you can provide others on being able to communicate this way. Thank you for sharing your time with me and watching this video. Again, please like, subscribe, and share to help our channel grow. Mahalo!